Bryan Carter had never been the kind of billionaire people imagined. He didn't throw extravagant parties. He didn't chase the spotlight. He didn't enjoy the noise, the eyes, the constant cameras. If anything, Bryan preferred silence. He had built Carter Innovations from a tiny office above a laundromat, and even after becoming one of the most recognizable CEOs in the country, he still worked like an engineer, focused, quiet, intentional. Most people at the company respected him from afar. But Nicole Roberts, the new intern, treated him like a human being. Not like a legend, not like a rumor, not like a paycheck, just a person. Maybe that was why he trusted her. The morning the wedding invitation arrived, Bryan sat in his minimalist office, reading the embossed card in silence. The words "Best Man" were written in bold script beside his name. Cameron Clarkson had never been subtle. Bryan sighed. Cameron was one of the few people who had known him before the fame, before the boardrooms, before the sleek glass towers. They had gone to university together, and despite their wildly different personalities, Cameron loud and social, Bryan logical and introverted, their friendship had survived. The problem was simple. It was a destination wedding. A grand one, at a resort everyone would photograph. And as the best man, Bryan would be standing in front of hundreds of people. He rubbed his temples. He needed someone to keep the media and socialites away. Someone who understood how uncomfortable he got at events. Someone who would make conversation so he didn't have to. He hated the idea, but he needed a date. Outside his glass wall, Nicole walked past with her tablet tucked to her chest and her hair pulled into a neat puff. She paused by the conference room, reading something intently. Bryan watched her for a moment. Nicole worked with this quiet confidence that he admired. She listened more than she spoke, and when she did speak, it was always smart and well thought out. She didn't flirt, didn't overstep. She asked questions with genuine curiosity and treated everyone, from janitors to executives, with the same level of respect. And she always smiled when she greeted him. Not a forced corporate smile, a real one, which was extremely rare in his world. His assistant had once joked, "If you need a human shield for a public event, pick the intern. Nicole is the only one who won't panic." Maybe she was right. Maybe Nicole was the safest option. Still, asking her felt strange. He stood from his desk before he could overthink it. Nicole was reviewing documents in the small intern area when she noticed him approaching. She almost jumped. "Mr. Carter? Is something wrong?" she asked. "No," he said quickly. "Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to ask you something." Nicole blinked. Bryan Carter never asked people things. He instructed. He directed. He approved. But ask? That was new. She set her tablet down. "Of course. How can I help?" Bryan inhaled, then exhaled, too sharply, like he was preparing for a board meeting. "You know my friend, Cameron Clarkson?" Nicole nodded. Everyone knew Cameron. The media loved him. He was the charismatic founder of a travel tech empire. "He's getting married next weekend. It's a large event. Hundreds of guests. Cameras." Bryan paused. "I've been asked to attend as his best man." Nicole smiled warmly. "That's amazing. Congratulations to him." "Yes." Bryan cleared his throat. "The problem is, I'm expected to bring someone." "Oh," Nicole said softly. "And I need someone who understands that I don't enjoy public events. Someone who won't make things complicated." He paused. "You came to mind." Nicole's eyes widened. "Me? You don't have to agree," Bryan added quickly. "I know it's sudden, and if you feel uncomfortable, say no. I won't take offense." Nicole shook her head. "It's not that. I'm just surprised." "So am I," Bryan admitted before he could stop himself. They both froze. Then Nicole laughed. Light, not mocking. "Mr. Carter, if you really need someone to help you get through the wedding, I don't mind going with you. You've been nothing but respectful to me since I joined the company." Bryan relaxed slightly. "You're sure?" "Yes," she said, smiling. "I'd be happy to help." Happy. The word echoed in Bryan's mind. He wasn't used to people doing things for him without expecting something in return. "Thank you, Nicole," he said quietly. It means more than you know. Later that day, Bryan reviewed logistics with his assistant, Ava. You asked Nicole? She said, raising her brows. It seemed the most rational choice, Bryan muttered. Ava wondering. Or the only person you actually like. He didn't answer, because he wasn't sure if she was wrong. Nicole spent the rest of the day trying not to overthink the invitation. It wasn't a date. Of course not. He needed help. She understood that. Still, attending a billionaire's best friend's wedding was nothing close to normal. In the quiet of her tiny studio apartment that night, she reread the message Bryan had sent her. A simple itinerary, respectful and professional. She exhaled. She could do this. She would just be herself. Calm, organized, supportive. Nothing more. Oh. Bryan arrived at the private terminal early, too early. He told himself it was because he liked punctuality. But the truth was quieter, stranger, and sitting in his chest like an unfamiliar weight. Why was he nervous to see his intern? He stood near the sleek jet, checking his watch even though the flight wasn't scheduled to leave for another 40 minutes. A black car approached. Nicole stepped out, and for a moment, only a moment, Bryan forgot how lungs worked. Not because of her looks, but because she looked so composed, effortlessly ready for a world she didn't belong to, yet somehow fit into anyway. Good morning, Mr. Carter, she said. Her voice calm but with a hint of excitement she couldn't hide. Bryan, he corrected before he could stop himself. Nicole blinked, surprised. Okay. Good morning, Bryan. Oh. Inside the jet, Nicole's eyes widened as she took in the luxurious interior. This is beautiful, she whispered, then quickly clutched her hands together. Sorry. I'm not trying to act shocked. It's fine, Bryan said. Honesty is refreshing. She smiled, and he felt something unfamiliar tug at his chest. They settled into their seats, but just as Bryan began reviewing the wedding schedule on his tablet, Nicole leaned slightly closer. You have a message, she said, pointing at his screen. It was from Cameron. Cameron, can't wait to see you, brother. And don't worry, Sophia can't wait to meet the girl you're bringing. Nicole raised an eyebrow. Girl? Did you tell him I'm the intern? I tried, Bryan muttered. But Cameron doesn't read messages. He only reacts to vibes. Nicole laughed. So he thinks you're bringing someone important? Apparently. The jet took off smoothly, but peace didn't last long. As soon as the seatbelt sign turned off, turbulence shook the aircraft. Bryan stayed calm. Nicole? Not so much. Her hand flew to the armrest, gripping it tightly. Is the plane supposed to do that? Yes, Bryan said, then hesitated. Well, mostly. Mostly? She hissed. 90%. She glared. Bryan, this is not helping. He swallowed a smile which was new for him. You're safe, Nicole. I promise. The statement slipped out far too naturally. Too protective. Nicole finally eased back into her seat, still shaky, but less panicked. Sorry, she murmured. I'm usually not scared of things. It's fine. I don't like turbulence either. You don't. Not even a little. She smiled again, not because of luxury or shock this time, but because he admitted something human. And Bryan realized he liked that expression more than he should. They landed at the resort before noon. Nicole stepped out and stared. The place looked unreal. Tall palm trees swaying. An ocean so blue it barely made sense. Massive chandeliers hanging in the open-air lobby. Wow, she whispered. Like wow. Bryan nodded. Cameron doesn't do anything small. As if summoned, a loud voice boomed across the lobby. Bryan. Cameron Clarkson. 6 feet of confidence, sunshine energy, and blinding enthusiasm. Jogged toward them. Nicole straightened herself. Bryan braced himself. And Cameron? Well, he stared. First at Bryan, then at Nicole, then back at Bryan. Slowly, a grin spread across Cameron's face. Oh, Cameron said. So this is the mysterious date you refused to describe. Nicole opened her mouth. Actually, Nicole? Bryan cut in gently. This is Cameron Clarkson. She shook Cameron's hand politely. Nice to meet you, sir. Sir. Cameron laughed. Absolutely not. Call me Cameron. And you must be special if Bryan brought you. Nicole froze. Bryan froze. Even the palm trees froze. I'm his intern. Nicole clarified quickly, trying to fix the misunderstanding. Cameron blinked, then blinked again. Oh, he said. Intern. Bryan felt heat crawl up his neck. Yes, but Cameron? He was already squinting. Right? Cameron said slowly. Intern. They were given their room keys, and Bryan insisted Nicole take a suite for herself. Spacious, ocean view, everything comfortable. It's too much, she said. He paused. You're here to help me. You deserve comfort. Nicole looked at him for a long second. Not romantically, just thoughtfully. Thank you, she said softly. As she stepped away, Cameron pulled Bryan aside. My guy, he whispered. Are you sure she's only your intern? Yes, Bryan said, confused. Because you look at her like she's not. Bryan's jaw tightened. Cameron, don't start. I'm just saying, Cameron shrugged. If you don't realize what's happening, everyone else will. Bryan frowned. Nothing is happening. Cameron grinned. Yet. Later that evening, before the welcome reception, Bryan knocked on Nicole's suite door. Are you ready? He asked. Almost. Her voice called. Give me 1 second. He heard drawers closing, soft footsteps. Then the door opened. And Bryan forgot every sentence he had prepared. Nicole wasn't wearing anything extravagant. A simple high-neck evening dress, light makeup, natural, elegant. But something about her looked different, calmer, confident, like she belonged at a billionaire's wedding. Is something wrong? Nicole asked. No, Bryan said quietly, too quietly. Then, forcing composure, you look prepared. Nicole laughed. Thank you, I think. But before either of them could speak again, a camera flash went off in the hallway. Someone had taken a photo. Bryan stiffened. Nicole turned. Was that? Another flash. Another click. Press, Bryan muttered. They're not supposed to be on this floor. He stepped slightly in front of her, protective instinct on high alert. Oh! The camera flashes stopped almost as quickly as they had started. But the damage was done. Bryan clenched his jaw, shoulders tense. Stay behind me, he said, calm but firm. Nicole didn't argue. She could see it in his eyes. This wasn't fear. It was frustration. A deep, simmering frustration reserved for media who crossed boundaries. Security rushed in seconds later, scattering the paparazzi. The hallway fell quiet again. Nicole exhaled. I didn't expect that. Bryan turned to her. I'm sorry. This wasn't supposed to happen. It's okay, she said softly. Really? But Bryan didn't relax. Not even a little. They took 10 minutes to calm down before heading to the welcome reception. While Bryan reviewed a message from Cameron, Nicole checked her reflection, just to be sure she didn't look rattled. Her dress was still neat, her hair still in place, her posture still confident. She took a breath. I'm ready, she said. Bryan nodded. Let's go. But he didn't walk ahead like he usually did. He walked beside her. The welcome reception was held on a terrace overlooking the ocean. Warm golden lights dangled from palm trees. A live band played soft, upbeat music, and guests mingled in glamorous clusters. The moment Bryan appeared, conversations hushed. The moment Nicole appeared beside him, whispers spread like wildfire. Who is she? She's not on the guest list. She looks too young to be executive level. Is that his girlfriend? No. Maybe a business partner? No idea. But Bryan Carter does not bring guests. Nicole heard it all. Bryan heard it too, and hated every second of it. You don't have to stay long, he murmured. I'll be fine, she replied. We came here together. I'm here to help. Bryan looked at her for a brief moment that said more than he intended. "Thank you," he said quietly. Before she could respond, Cameron burst into the scene. "There you are," he boomed. "I've introduced Sophia to literally everyone twice, and you two are still missing." He stopped dramatically, sweeping his arm toward Nicole. "And look at this. Nicole, you are absolutely—" Bryan shot him a warning look. Cameron understood and pivoted. "Absolutely perfect for keeping this man from running away. You look amazing." Nicole laughed nervously. "Thank you." Bryan sighed. "Cameron, please don't exaggerate." "I'm not exaggerating," Cameron whispered loudly. "Sophia's going to scream when she sees her." They didn't have to wait long to find out. Sophia rushed over seconds later, glowing, stunning, and beaming with excitement. "You must be Nicole," she said, taking both of Nicole's hands. "We've heard so much about you." Nicole blinked. "You have?" "Yes," Sophia chirped. "Cameron said Bryan was bringing someone surprising and elegant. And here you are." Bryan muttered. "That is not what I said." Cameron clapped him on the back. "Indirectly, you did." Sophia leaned closer to Nicole, her voice dropping. "Also, thank you for calming him down. He looks less stiff today." Bryan frowned. "I'm standing right here." Both women ignored him. The next hour passed in slow, unpredictable waves. Nicole handled conversations gracefully. Bryan stayed by her side more than he planned. The guests kept attempting to figure out who she was. "Are you an investor?" "No." "Public relations?" "Not quite." "A secret partner?" "Definitely not." Eventually, Bryan stepped in. "She is my intern," he said simply. Silence. Then, "Oh, wait. Seriously? You brought an intern? That's new." Nicole wanted to fade into the floor, but Bryan didn't waver. "She's someone I trust." The room shifted, and Nicole felt it. Not romance, but a weight of respect landing between them. Later in the evening, they moved to the back terrace for fresh air. The ocean breeze was cool, the music softer here, the lights dimmer. Nicole leaned on the railing. "This is beautiful." Bryan nodded. "It's quieter. I prefer this." Footsteps approached. It was Sophia, alone this time. "Mind if I borrow her for a moment?" she asked. Bryan hesitated. "For what?" Sophia smiled. "Girl talk." Nicole nearly choked. Wait. Girl what?" But Sophia dragged her away before either could protest. Sophia pulled her into a quieter corner. "So," she began, "tell me everything." Nicole blinked. Everything about what?" "About you and Bryan." "There is no me and Bryan. I work for him." Sophia folded her arms. "I know that, but I also know Bryan." Nicole tilted her head. Meaning, Sophia said, pointing a finger. "He relaxes around almost no one." "Cameron?" "Yes." "Me?" "Sometimes." "Is bored?" "Never. But tonight, he's calmer, more human." "You did that." Nicole's breath caught. Not romantically, but from the unexpected weight of those words. "I didn't do anything special," she said. "I just talked to him." "Exactly." Sophia smiled knowingly. "You treat him like a person, not a legend. He needs that more than he admits." Nicole didn't know what to say. Before she found words, Sophia added, "And for the record, I'm glad he brought you. Some people only see the billionaire. You seem to see the man." Meanwhile, back on the terrace, Cameron cornered Bryan. "So," Cameron said, sipping a drink, "you look unusually calm." "I am calm," Bryan muttered. "Exactly my point. You're rarely calm at social events." Bryan sighed. "Nicole is just easy to be around. She doesn't compare me to the media version of myself." "Interesting," Cameron said, smiling too widely. "Very interesting." Bryan frowned. "What now?" "Nothing," Cameron said innocently. "Just observing." But Cameron's observant silence was louder than words. Nicole returned just then, looking thoughtful. "You okay?" Bryan asked. "Yes." Sophia is very enthusiastic. She is, he agreed. Before they could continue, the event host tapped the microphone. Everyone, please turn toward the main stage. Lights dimmed. Music slowed. The first slideshow of Cameron and Sophia began. Nicole leaned slightly closer, not touching him, just standing near enough for Bryan to feel the difference. This is nice, she whispered, and Bryan had to agree. Not because of the slideshow, not because of the venue, but because for the first time in a long while he didn't feel alone at an event. But he didn't say that. Not yet. Oh. The slideshow continued playing. Pictures of Cameron and Sophia laughing, traveling, hugging relatives, celebrating milestones. Everyone around them smiled, pointed, whispered happily. But Bryan wasn't watching the screen. He noticed Nicole's expression instead. Calm, thoughtful, slightly uncertain. He couldn't help asking, "You're quiet." "Just thinking," she said. "About what?" Before she could answer, the screen suddenly glitched, turning black for a second too long. People murmured. A few guests turned. And then, a different image flashed on the giant projector. Not Cameron. Not Sophia. It was Bryan, standing beside Nicole, in the hotel hallway earlier. The paparazzi photo, and the caption below it, Bryan Carter's secret date at the Clarkson wedding? The terrace erupted. What? Who posted that? That was minutes ago. She's his intern, right? Is this real? Nicole's face drained. Her fingers tightened around the railing. Bryan moved fast. Turn that off, he ordered the event staff. His voice was low, controlled, but sharp enough to cut glass. Staff rushed, unplugging the projection cables as the screen sputtered back to black. But the damage was already shaping itself in whispers spreading like wildfire across the terrace. Sophia hurried toward Nicole. Cameron hurried toward Bryan. Please tell me that wasn't real, Sophia muttered. It was, Nicole said quietly. Bryan faced Cameron. Someone leaked our floor number. Someone followed us. And they sold the photo within hours? Cameron replied, brows lifting. That's intentional. It is, Bryan agreed. Embedded in the tension, who wanted this photo out? Nicole tried to steady her breathing. She wasn't embarrassed for herself. She was embarrassed for him. She didn't want her presence to complicate anything. Bryan, she whispered. I'm sorry. You didn't do anything wrong, he said, voice firm. This is not your fault. But Nicole wasn't convinced. Cameron stepped forward. We can handle the rumor. I'll get PR involved. It'll be fine. No, Bryan said. I'll handle it. Cameron studied him. Meaning what? Meaning, Bryan said. I'm not letting the media turn my intern into a headline. Nicole swallowed. The way he emphasized the word intern wasn't harsh. It was protective. But protection had a cost. Let's go somewhere private, Bryan said. He guided Nicole away, not touching her, just walking beside her, until they reached the quieter garden path behind the terrace. The night air was cooler here, the music muffled, the lights softer. Nicole turned to him. I didn't want to cause trouble. You didn't, Bryan said immediately. People are staring, she whispered. And they think. I don't care what they think. Nicole hesitated. But it affects your image, the company, your reputation. My reputation will survive, he said. But I don't want them dragging yours into this. Nicole blinked. Mine? You're not used to media attention, he said. They'll twist facts, invent stories, create pressure you never asked for. And you're worried about that? Yes. The answer came too quickly, too honestly. Nicole didn't know what to say. Cameron and Sophia approached seconds later. You two okay? Sophia asked. Yes, Nicole said. No, Bryan said at the same time. They all paused. Sophia cleared her throat. Listen, we're going to change the narrative before it spreads. We have two options. Cameron raised a hand, counting on his fingers. 1, ignore it. The rumor burns out after your wedding. 2, make a quick statement that she's part of your staff, Here for work, and nothing more. Nicole nodded. Option 2 makes sense. Bryan didn't respond. Cameron arched an eyebrow. Dude, option 2, right? Still nothing. Nicole frowned. Bryan. He finally looked up. If we say you're here for work, the narrative becomes that I make interns travel with me. It'll look unprofessional. Nicole realized the trap instantly. If they said nothing, she looked like a secret date. If they said she was staff, she looked exploited. Either way, Nicole would be criticized. Bryan rubbed the bridge of his nose. There's no clean option. So we make a messy one look good, Cameron said. And how do you propose we do that? Bryan asked. Cameron grinned. By giving people something better to talk about. Nicole blinked. What does that mean? It means, Cameron said, you two show up tomorrow acting completely normal. No stress, no tension, no panic. Just two people attending a wedding like everyone else. The calmer you look, the faster the rumor dies. Hook woven into Cameron's plan. A strategy that depends on composure neither of them fully has. Nicole nodded slowly. I can do that. Bryan looked less convinced. Are you sure? Yes, she said. I'm not weak. I won't crumble because people talk. Her voice was steady. Surprisingly steady. Bryan exhaled. Okay. Cameron clapped his hands together. Great. Crisis partially contained. Sophia smiled at Nicole. Try to rest. Tomorrow is the rehearsal dinner. More eyes, more cameras. Nicole gulped. Great. Sophia touched her arm gently. You'll handle it. Bryan watched the two women walk away back toward the terrace. His jaw tight, thoughts turning faster than he could control. Cameron waited until they were out of earshot. Man, you're in trouble. Bryan glared. I'm not. You are, Cameron insisted. Not because of rumors, because you care too much about how this affects her. That's called being responsible, Bryan snapped. Sure, Cameron said slowly. But that wasn't responsibility. That was something else. Bryan turned away. Good night, Cameron. He walked back toward his own suite, denying every implication, every observation. Hook paced quietly as he closed his door. Denial is always the first sign something is changing. Nicole, meanwhile, entered her room and leaned against the door, exhaling a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Today had been overwhelming, loud, chaotic, but one thought kept circling in her mind. Why did Bryan defend her so fiercely? And why did it matter to her so much? She didn't have answers yet, but she had a feeling tomorrow would give her some, whether she was ready or not. She smoothed her dress, checked her reflection one more time, and stepped out. Bryan was waiting near the elevators, posture stiff, tie perfect, gaze scanning the hallway like he was expecting trouble. But when he saw Nicole, something switched over his face. Not surprise, not discomfort, recognition, as if he already knew she'd show up nervous, and he was preparing himself to steady her, even though neither of them would ever admit that's what he was doing. You okay? He asked. Nicole inhaled. Fine. He gave her a look that suggested she was not fine, but he wasn't going to push. Let's go. They walked side by side, careful not to stand too close, careful not to look too guarded, careful enough that it looked almost unnatural, two people trying to seem natural. The rehearsal dinner, and the room that was waiting for a reaction. When they entered the banquet hall, conversations dipped. Eyes lifted. A few phones angled discreetly. Nicole's stomach dropped. Instantly, Bryan leaned in just slightly, not touching her, just positioning himself like a shield. Subtle, controlled, effective. Cameron spotted them first, grinning. There they are, acting totally normal as required. He clapped Bryan on the shoulder, then gave Nicole a reassuring nod. Sophia joined them, glowing in her silver dress, moving straight to Nicole with quiet warmth. You look great, she whispered. Thank you, Nicole replied, thankful for even a sliver of comfort. Relax, Sophia added. We're steering the narrative. The wedding hashtag isn't even talking about the photo anymore. Nicole allowed herself a tiny sigh of relief. until a familiar voice cut in. Well, well, this must be the girl from the projection. All four turned. Cameron groaned under his breath. Oh no! Standing there was Catherine, Cameron's aunt, self-appointed family watchdog and world-class stirrer of trouble. Sharp eyes, sharper opinions, and a smile that always looked like it was about to critique something. Nicole froze. Bryan didn't. He stepped forward, subtly blocking Catherine's line of sight. Good evening, he said coolly. Oh, don't be so tense, Bryan, Catherine replied. I simply wanted to meet the young lady the internet is talking about. Nicole forced a polite smile. Nice to meet you, ma'am, Catherine hummed, studying her. Pretty, composed. But trouble always starts with the quiet ones. Sophia tensed. Cameron pinched the bridge of his nose. Nicole swallowed, but she didn't break. Actually, she said softly, the only trouble tonight is unnecessary comments. Sophia's eyes widened. Cameron choked on air. Bryan stared at her, impressed, not angry. Catherine blinked, then gave a stiff smile. Well, you have spirit. She walked off. Sophia leaned in. I could kiss you for that. Nicole flushed. Please don't. Don't worry, Sophia laughed. I'm taken. A new problem, because calm never lasts long. Dinner began, plates clinking, laughter flowing, and for a moment, it felt like things might actually settle. Then Cameron returned from answering a phone call, face serious. Bryan, he said, you need to hear this. Bryan excused himself with a nod and followed Cameron a few steps away. Nicole watched their expressions shift. Cameron speaking fast, Bryan's jaw tightening with every sentence. When they returned, the atmosphere around them changed. Sophia caught it too. What happened? Cameron hesitated. Someone didn't just leak the hallway photo. Nicole froze. Bryan stepped in, voice low. There's more. What more? Nicole whispered. Cameron exhaled. There's a second article, claiming Bryan requested a suite on your floor specifically. And implying, he winced. Implying what? Nicole pushed. That the two of you have been secretly seeing each other. Heat shot through Nicole's chest. Humiliation, anger, disbelief all tangled together. Bryan's eyes darkened. It's not just gossip anymore. Someone is deliberately targeting us. Nicole tried to breathe, but the air weighed differently now. Sophia touched her shoulder. It's going to be okay. Nicole wanted to believe that. She wasn't sure she could. Cameron lowered his voice. Look, we can't ignore it anymore. And we can't do the she's just staff excuse. Nicole nodded. Because it'll make it worse. Exactly, Cameron said. Which means the best way to end false stories is to give them a real one, Sophia cut in. Nicole's heart jumped. What does that mean? Bryan stiffened. Absolutely not. Cameron held up both hands. Not what you're thinking. Calm down. Then he turned to Nicole. The best story is simple. You're here because Sophia invited you. Not Bryan. Not for him. For her. Girl support. Wedding help. Completely harmless. Unconnected to him. Nicole blinked. But that's not true. Sophia stepped in instantly. It is now. Nicole stared. You'd lie for me? I'm not lying, Sophia said. I'm rewriting the truth before someone else does. Bryan ran a hand through his hair. It's risky. Everything is risky right now, Cameron said. But this is the least terrible option. Nicole exhaled. I can do that. Bryan glanced at her sharply. You don't have to. I want to, she said steady. I'm not letting someone smear you. Or me. Or your job. Something in Bryan's expression shifted. A crack in the controlled facade. Pride? Reluctant respect? Something he didn't want to acknowledge? He looked away. Fine. But pressure finds its target. The night should have gotten easier after that. Didn't. Guests kept glancing over. A few whispered. One snapped a photo before turning away too quickly. Nicole handled it, until she went to the restroom, washed her hands, and overheard two strangers near the door. Honestly, she looks too young. And too inexperienced. I mean, interns and executives? Really? Nicole's breath hitched. Their words weren't cruel, but they were exactly sharp enough to cut. She stood until they left, then headed back toward the banquet hall, slower, quieter, carrying the invisible weight their whispers left behind. Hook slipping naturally into the final stretch. Pressure has a way of revealing what someone is actually afraid of. When Nicole returned, Bryan noticed instantly that something was off. "Hey," he said quietly. "What happened?" "Nothing," she said quickly. He studied her face, the slight tremble in her exhale, the way she avoided his eyes. "Nicole," her composure cracked. "It's just, they don't even know me," she whispered. "But they already think they do." Bryan's jaw tightened. "Tell me who said something." "No," she said, shaking her head. "I'm not starting another scene. I just need a minute." For the first time all evening, she stepped away from him, toward the balcony, toward the night air. Bryan watched her go, tension twisting through him. Cameron appeared beside him. "What are you thinking?" Bryan's eyes didn't leave the balcony. "That something needs to change," he murmured. Cameron raised a brow. "Change how?" Bryan didn't answer, but the hook lingered. Whatever he meant, it wasn't small, and it wasn't something he planned to ignore. Oh! Nicole stepped onto the balcony and closed the glass door behind her. The sudden quiet felt like stepping out of a storm. No cameras, no whispers, no accusations. Just the night breeze, threading softly through the garden lights below. She steadied her breathing, resting her hands on the railing. But even the cool air couldn't erase the sting of the words she'd overheard. Too young, too inexperienced. Interns and executives? Really? She wasn't crying. She refused to. But her throat felt tight, her mind churned, her chest heavy. She hadn't asked for any of this. Not the attention, not the rumors, not the uncomfortable spotlight melting onto her every move. And definitely not the way Bryan kept stepping in front of it like a shield he never asked to hold. Someone stepped onto the balcony behind her. Nicole straightened instinctively. "Cameron?" she guessed, not turning around. "No." The voice was deeper, controlled, familiar. "Bryan." Nicole didn't move. "You should be inside." "So should you," he replied. She closed her eyes. "I just needed air." He walked to her side. Not close, just near enough to show he wasn't going anywhere. They stood quietly for a long moment, the soft hum of the dinner muffled behind the glass. Finally Nicole whispered, "Why does it bother you so much?" Bryan hesitated. "Because people shouldn't speak about you like that." "But they did. And they were wrong." Nicole exhaled shakily. "They think you're involved with me." "They think a lot of things," he said. "Their assumptions aren't fact." "But they affect you," she insisted. "Your image, your position, your—" "Stop," he said gently but firmly. She did. Bryan turned his head slightly, studying her expression in the soft glow of the balcony lights. "You're not the liability they're trying to make you out to be," he added. Nicole's voice dropped. "But I feel like one." His jaw tightened. That was the one thing he didn't want her feeling. He exhaled. "I hate that this is hurting you." Nicole blinked, surprised he'd said it out loud. Surprised he meant it. A shadow shifted near the balcony's far corner. Neither of them noticed, too wrapped in the tension neither could name. But the figure noticed them. Not close enough to hear every word. Close enough to hear the tone. Curious. Watching. Interpreting. A quiet spark lit in their expression. Information. Fresh information. And information always had a use. Nicole leaned her hands on the railing again. "Maybe I shouldn't have come." Bryan's head snapped toward her. "Don't say that." "It's true," she said. "Being here is causing problems. For your reputation, for the wedding, for—" "No," he interrupted. "What's causing problems is someone trying very hard to create them." Nicole glanced at him. "Do you actually think someone targeted us on purpose?" "I don't think," he said. "I know." A shiver ran up her spine. "Who?" "I don't have proof yet. But the leak was fast. coordinated, and time to embarrass us during the slideshow. His voice hardened. That wasn't an accident. Nicole hadn't considered that angle fully, but hearing Bryan say it made it real. Someone wanted this. Why? She whispered. He didn't answer right away. Because in my world, he finally said, visibility is currency. And ruining someone's image is easier than building your own. Nicole swallowed. And dragging me into it is just collateral? He didn't look at her, which was its own answer. Nicole tried to stay composed. Really tried. But the pressure, the scrutiny, the comments, the articles, everything, hit her at once. I don't want to be talked about like this, she said quietly. I don't want to be the problem in someone else's story. Her voice cracked at the end, just slightly, but enough. Bryan turned fully toward her. Something in him shifted. The calm, the restraint, the practiced distance. Gone. You're not the problem, he said almost fiercely. You are not the problem. Nicole pressed the back of her hand to her mouth, trying to hold herself together. He took a small step forward, not touching her, not invading her space, just closer, present. Look at me, he said gently. She did, and he saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the weight she'd been carrying quietly all night. He swallowed. If anyone should be apologizing, it's me. Nicole shook her head. You didn't do anything wrong. I brought you into this world tonight, he said. I should have protected you better. But you did protect me, she said. More than you needed to. His gaze flickered. She'd hit something he didn't want acknowledged. Before either could say more, the balcony door slid open. Cameron stepped out, scanning their faces. He froze. Oh, he said slowly. I'm interrupting something. You're not, Nicole said quickly. Bryan didn't say anything. Cameron raised a brow. Right. So, 2 updates. He held up a finger. First, Sophia convinced the event photographer to delete any photo of either of you from tonight. She's running interference like a professional. Nicole exhaled in relief. And second, Cameron continued, raising another finger, my cousin passed by earlier and mentioned something interesting. Nicole blinked. What? Cameron scratched his cheek. She said she overheard 2 women in the hallway saying your name. Nicole froze. My name? She echoed. Yeah, Cameron said. Which means people didn't just see the article. They recognized you. A cold weight dropped in Nicole's stomach. Recognition made rumors stronger. Recognition made lies harder to kill. Bryan's expression hardened. We need to find out who leaked the second article. Cameron nodded. I know. But the more pressing problem is this. He pointed at Nicole. She's being watched. Nicole stared at him, heart racing. By who? Cameron shrugged. We don't know yet. But someone's paying close attention to you. Another shift in the air. Another thread tightening. Far down the hallway, beyond their view, the shadowed figure from earlier slipped back inside the building. Expression unreadable. Phone in hand. Message already drafted. One tap would send it. One tap would change everything again. Back on the balcony, Nicole stared at the city lights, trying to steady the pounding in her chest. I didn't ask for any of this, she whispered. Bryan's voice was quiet. I know. And I don't understand why someone would target me. You're not the target, Bryan said. Nicole looked at him sharply. Then who is? Bryan didn't answer. He didn't have to. The realization slowly formed in Nicole's mind, slow, sharp, dangerous. They weren't trying to expose her. They were trying to expose him. A new fear threaded through her. If someone wanted to hurt Bryan, and she was the easiest path to do it, then she wasn't just caught in a rumor anymore. She was bait. And whoever was pulling strings hadn't finished yet. Oh. Nicole barely slept. Not because of fear, but because her mind wouldn't stop spinning. Someone wanted to use her. Use Bryan. Use the photo. But why? And why now? By sunrise, her nerves felt like frayed wires. She got dressed, pulled her hair back, and opened the door. Bryan was standing there. Not stiff. Not guarded. But determined. "We're going downstairs," he said. "Now." Nicole blinked. "Why?" He held up his phone. "Because the person behind the articles made a mistake." Her heart kicked. "Who?" A muscle ticked in his jaw. "You'll see." Cameron paced the private lounge downstairs, Sophia beside him, and 2 members of security standing alert. When Bryan and Nicole walked in, Cameron pointed dramatically at the TV screen. "IT dropped." "What dropped?" Nicole asked. "The 3rd article," Sophia said carefully. "The one that wasn't supposed to exist." The headline scrolled across the screen like a punch. Bryan Carter's alleged scandal. Insider to release proof today. Nicole's breath hitched. "Insider." "As in," Bryan said. "Someone from the wedding." Nicole's stomach dropped. "Someone here?" Cameron nodded grimly. "That's not even the crazy part," he added. "Look at the byline." Bryan clicked the remote. The screen zoomed in, and Nicole's eyes widened. Exclusive source: Melanie Carter. "Carter?" she whispered. "As in?" "My cousin," Bryan said tightly. "She's here for the wedding." Nicole took a step back. "But why would she do this?" Cameron threw his hands up. "Let me explain before Bryan explodes." Sophia nudged him. "Cameron, summarize." "Right," Cameron said. "Basically, Melanie wants Bryan's position at the company. She's been trying to undermine him for months. She thought turning him into unprofessional scandal guy would shake the board's trust. And Nicole got dragged into the crossfire because you were with me that night." Bryan finished. Nicole's chest tightened with anger she didn't know she had. "She used me." "Worse," Cameron said. "She planned to use you again today. The 3rd article claims you're going to confirm everything at breakfast." Nicole gasped. "Me?" "Yes," Bryan said flatly. "She forged a statement from you." Nicole pressed her hands to her forehead. "This is insane." "Which," Cameron said, "leads us to phase 2. Nicole blinked. "Phase 2. Sophia grinned. "Oh, we're done being polite." Breakfast was in the main dining hall. Dozens of guests. Cameras. Whispers. Energy buzzing like a live wire. As Nicole and Bryan entered, the room stirred. Louder whispers, subtle glances, people tapping their phones after reading the new headline. But Bryan didn't slow down. Neither did Nicole. They walked straight toward the center table, where Melanie Carter sat with a champagne glass and the smuggest expression in the building. Cameron spoke first, clapping his hands loudly. "Good morning, everyone. Quick announcement." The room went quiet. "Someone here," Cameron continued cheerfully, "has been feeding scandal articles to the press." Bryan leaned forward, voice cold. "And it was you, Melanie." A wave rippled through the room. Melanie didn't flinch. "You don't have proof." Bryan held up a tablet. "Oh," Cameron said. "He has proof. Lots of it." He tapped the screen. The projector lit up with screenshots. A Melanie emailing a journalist. A Melanie receiving payment. A Melanie sending the photo. Melanie's fake message drafted in Nicole's name. Gasps filled the hall. Melanie's face drained. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "I was doing what's best for the company. Bryan doesn't deserve that position." Sophia cut in, sweet but deadly. "By framing his intern? Seriously." Nicole stepped forward, her voice steady. "You didn't just attack him. You tried to use me because you thought I was the easiest target." Melanie's eyes narrowed. "You were the easiest target. And that," Nicole said, "is where you miscalculated." The room shifted. Nicole could feel it. People watching her not with suspicion now, but with respect. Melanie stood abruptly, knocking her chair over. "You can't prove anything. You think the board will believe you." "Oh, they already saw it," Bryan said calmly. "I sent everything before coming downstairs." Melanie froze. "And," Cameron added, "hotel security traced the leak. Came from your room. Your device. Your login." Sophia sighed dramatically. "Melanie, you played yourself." People started whispering again. But this time the whispers had teeth. Melanie swayed slightly, then snapped, This isn't over. It is, Bryan said. Effective immediately. Security stepped up beside her. Melanie's eyes burned. You'll regret this. No, Bryan said, voice steady. I'll rebuild from here. But you won't be doing it with me. She stormed out, security following. The room exhaled all at once. Cameron clapped his hands again. Okay, everyone. Breakfast is saved. Laughter broke out. Sophia hugged Nicole briefly. You handled that like a pro. Nicole breathed out slowly. I didn't plan to speak like that. That's because you weren't defending yourself, Sophia said softly. You were telling the truth. Bryan stepped closer. Nicole. She looked up. You didn't deserve any of this, he said. And I'm sorry you were pulled in. Nicole shook her head. It wasn't your fault. But I brought you into this environment, he said. You didn't sign up for public attacks. Nicole hesitated. Maybe not. But I'm proud I didn't fall apart. A small, rare smile cracked across Bryan's face. You didn't, he said. You stood your ground. And I'm not a liability, she added. No, Bryan said, tone firm. You're an asset. Cameron appeared beside them, whispering loudly. This is your cue to... Oh wait, no immersive romance allowed. Never mind. Nicole laughed. Actual laughter. For the first time in 2 days, she felt lighter. Sophia grabbed her hand. Come on. I want to show you something. Later that afternoon, after the storm had passed, Sophia brought Nicole to a quiet garden path. You did amazing, she said. So I wanted to tell you something. Nicole tilted her head. What is it? Cameron and I talked, Sophia said. We'd love to bring you back next month as part of the planning team. Officially. Paid. Experienced. Not an intern. Nicole's eyes widened. You want to hire me? You've got backbone, Sophia said. We need that. Nicole felt her chest lift with something warm. Pride. Accomplishment. Possibility. You deserve a space where people see your value, Sophia added. Nicole nodded slowly. I'd like that. Bryan approached as Sophia left to greet guests. Nicole turned to him. I guess things resolved. They did, he said. Because you weren't afraid to speak up. Nicole smiled. Because you weren't afraid to stand beside me. He nodded once, small, but full of meaning. Then he added quietly, You changed more than just a rumor today. Nicole blinked. What do you mean? You proved, Bryan said, that people underestimate you at their own risk. She laughed softly. I'll take that. And Nicole? He added. Yes. Thank you, he said, for handling chaos with grace. She smiled. Returned to work and Bryan messaged Nicole. I saw more than I imagined and I just can't let you slip by without me taking a step ahead. I promised to take it slowly with you, if you'd give me the chance to be your perfect gentleman. She didn't respond to the message until the next morning as she returned to work. A note was in her office, and it reads, See me in my office when you're around. Bryan asked again, this time in person, if you'd love to have me as a perfect gentleman, I promise to take it slow with you as you want it. She smiled and said, Let's see where this journey takes us. Her boss poured a bottle of wine for the both of them with a toast of new beginnings. Two imperfect people decided to take in a beautiful love journey. No rush, no pressure, just two peaceful people learning to love each other rightly.